if you're in the situation where you've feel like you're focused on healing an anxiety symptom and then out of nowhere another one pops out, right? You're just like, I just fixed DPDR, or I just fixed my dizziness or my lightheadedness or my palpitations or the tingling or the numbness. I just fixed it. And then out of nowhere, a whole other symptom pops up and you're like, I have to go through this again, right? If that's you, or you've just been dealing with anxiety for a while and you just have these symptoms, they could be physical symptoms, it could be DPDR where you feel disconnected, or you feel like you're kind of floating or numb to everything, like you're not really there, right? Or you could just have a bunch of intrusive thoughts. Here's why that's happening, right? And just before I tell you why that's happening, a little bit about me, because a lot of people don't know. My name is Gabe. I had chronic anxiety for 10 years. I had an anxiety disorder. I was also actually diagnosed with 3 chronic health issues, which I reversed. Sinus issues, IBS issues, colitis, right? A whole bunch of stuff. So, in terms of, how I was able to heal these things, I healed it in less than 6 months to about 80%. The last 20% just came with consistency. Now, I'm an anxiety coach. I work with over 139 people to full recovery. And here is what I'm going to get into in today. I'm going to answer all of your questions on anxiety. And in terms of new symptoms popping up, here's why, right? So it's kind of like if you get over a symptom, it's not necessarily that, hey, you're healed. Your nervous system still feels unsafe. So it's kind of like, if you're dating someone and then you break up with someone, right? And you like, oh my god, that person was so toxic, they cheated on me, they lied to me, they weren't trustworthy. I'm glad I'm not dating that person anymore. That doesn't guarantee that you won't attract another toxic partner if you're still toxic yourself and you're actually dating those people, right? So the issue isn't the actual other people you date. The issue is the fact that you choose those people. And you choose those people because more inner work needs to be done. This isn't about dating. This is how your nervous system actually needs more work. So when you get over one symptom, a new symptom just pops up, right? So the first question I have is, hello, I need help with DPDR. Hello, Hugo. So DPDR, for those that don't know what DPDR is basically when you feel disconnected. You look through your eyes and you don't really feel real. Other people don't seem real. The room doesn't feel real. Certain objects don't feel real. You might also feel numb to your emotions. Like you can't really feel anything. You don't feel as connected to your family, to your friends, the people you spend time with, or just the world in general. Now, why does DPDR happen? It stands for depersonalization generalization. It happens because you are under so much stress that your brain disassociates as a result. So kind of like, let's say you're witnessing a fight, and the fight is so traumatic and toxic that if the pain of seeing that fight is so intense, your brain disassociates. It's like it blocks you from it. So it's like if you're seeing that fight and it's in front of you, your brain tries to kind of put your hands over your eyes to numb you from what's happening. That's kind of what's happened with anxiety. Your brain was actually just trying to protect you because it realized, hey, you're under stress for so long that the answer must be to numb it, disassociate. Even though that's not the answer you want, it's the coping mechanism that your brain has kind of learned. So when people don't feel real to you and these symptoms are happening, how do I fix it? One is don't avoid situations where these symptoms are higher. So if you avoid open spaces, sunny weather, social events, parties, work, driving, don't avoid these situations. And you can start easy. You can start by a small step. If you've completely avoided driving, just sit in your car and see how you feel. See how comfortable you feel. If you avoid social events and you get invited to 3 a week, see if you can show up for half of one, right? So that's the first big thing. Don't avoid situations because of your symptoms or DPDR. The second thing I would say is learn meditation to actually teach your brain how to respond. So if your brain has been blocking these symptoms or blocking the DPDR, we have to fix that, right? We have to teach our brain that it is okay and that you are going to be okay. The way you do that is by showing your brain it is safe by responding. How do I respond? Through meditation, anxiety, so that you actually know what to do when DPDR happens. Because right now when the DPDR or any symptom happens, there's a lot of fear. Right? So much fear. And that fear is actually what makes it alive. The same way the fuel in a car is what makes it go, The fuel for DPDR that keeps it going is your fear, your resistance, you not knowing how to respond, you panicking, you overthinking, you having that anticipation anxiety, thinking about the DPDR, like, oh my god, when is it going to happen again? Or if it feels 24/7, you're like, oh my god, it's here, right? When is this going to go away? Is my life always going to be stuck like this? All of that rumination actually keeps it alive. So you have to learn how to respond and detach from those thoughts to meditation. If you don't know how to meditate specifically for anxiety, or you don't know how to respond to symptoms, if you sign up to the link in my bio, I have a free community. On there, there's a free course called the 3-Day Anxiety Reset that basically teaches you my method for responding to DPDR and any physical symptom, etc. If you want that, it's completely free. Just click on the link in the bio. Anyway, that's what you got to do in a nutshell. And obviously the other habits and safety behaviors that come into it. So safety behaviors are like unhealthy coping mechanisms that you use to cope with your symptoms. This is like Googling your symptoms. This is, being on Reddit forums. This is constantly scrolling and watching anxiety videos. Yes, I say that as an anxiety content creator. Right. Okay. I gotta go to the next question. I hope that was clear. People don't feel real to me. Yes, that's a symptom of DPDR. Okay, Neha has asked, I had a bad nightmare and now my brain is telling me it is real and I don't want it to be real. Okay, cool. So you have an intrusive thought that basically has told you this nightmare is real and you don't want it to be real, right? As in, I'm assuming that means make it happen in real life. So here's the thing, right? Your dreams or nightmares, or what people like to call unpleasant dreams, your dreams are actually just a reflection of what you think about. So it's kind of like, let's say when you're dating someone, you spend time with them, you get to know their likes and dislikes, right? So your brain is, you kind of are dating your thoughts, where your thoughts are always trying to understand you and realizing what you like and don't like. What you don't like and things that you fear are scared of, whether you're scared of spiders, whether you're scared of flying or great heights, your brain basically processes that as nightmares. That's how it shows it to you, the same way you'd watch a movie. So think about when you're having a nightmare, your brain is basically showing you a movie to show what you've been thinking about and kind of subconsciously can communicate to you. Now, there's science on this that shows that dreams are reflections of what you're thinking about and your brain processing what's happening. You can go look at Dr. Andrew Huberman. He has a podcast all on dreams and the science and neuroscience of dreams. But yeah, now, you have the intrusive thought that it's going to be real. How can you rewire that thought? So I'm going to go through my 6-step question framework that I got from a neuroscientist. I forgot his name, but he's a really successful brain surgeon. And he basically has a question framework called ANTS. Well, for ANTS or ANTS. The first thing you want to ask yourself is it real? Like, is it true? So this nightmare, this fear, whether it's I'm going to crash the car, or I'm not going to be able to survive this holiday that I have coming up, or I'm not going to be able to take care of my family, or I'm going to lose my job, whatever fear that you have, is it actually real? Like, has it actually happened? And if it hasn't actually happened, right, then it's not true. If it's happened and it happened yesterday, then fair enough. But if you're just worrying about it happening, that means it's not true, and that means it hasn't actually happened. So that's the first thing to ask yourself. The second thing to ask yourself is, how do you feel about it? Where do you actually feel this emotion in your body? Is it in your chest? Is it in your belly? See, as you're, spiraling about this thought or fear, see if you can notice where you feel it in your body. Actually locate it. Be curious. Almost as if like you're tasting a new food and you have no idea what it tastes like. Like, okay, what does this actually taste like? Where do I feel this in my body? And you want to feel it in a compassionate way where you're not trying to push it away or get rid of it. It's almost just like, I have no idea where it is. Let me be curious and discover and run towards this emotion. Once you've located that, try and see, how would you feel if you didn't have this fear or this thought? How would you feel, right? Would you feel good? Would you feel bad? Would you feel better, most likely, right? And have you felt like that before? And in terms of what I mean by have you felt like that before, is have you had actual memories in your life where you felt motivated, if that's the emotion that you'd feel, if you didn't have this intrusive nightmare or fear, right? And have you felt like that? Oh, I did feel like that last month or last year. Okay, cool. Meditate on that feeling. What I mean by meditate on that feeling, obviously learn meditation and visualization, which helps with this, which I teach too, right? But basically, meditating on it, it's almost like being curious about the feeling and letting it slowly expand and reflecting on it. Okay, next question. I'm glad you guys can relate to this. All right. Hugo, I know what's that. I just try to come on with life but not disappear. I'm assuming it means you try to get on along with your life, which is good as well. Constant headaches. Thank you for the heart. Let me know. So for people that you know have like physical symptoms like headaches, dizziness, lightheadedness, tension, pain, right? The way you want to respond to symptoms is something I called RAIN. And I have a whole video training that goes way more in depth. But in a nutshell, you recognize it, you allow it to be there, you investigate it, and then you be compassionate towards it to rewire how you actually process that sensation. Like the headaches, the palpitations. Because I'm sure if you go to a doctor, if you've already probably done this, probably the first thing that you did when you had physical sensations is go to the doctor. If you haven't, go to the doctor just to get that reassurance that, oh, it's not anything medical. Because even though you think it's something medical, it's not going to be something medical, right? I promise you. So the reason why there's nothing medically or physically wrong with you is because there is nothing wrong in the actual body, but your brain thinks you're afraid, or the brain is afraid and has triggered a physical response in your body. So it's kind of like you see a fire and you feel like that fire is going to burn you, but when you do the medical test, you find out that the fire, your brain is actually creating that. And there's something called the placebo effect that proves this. Joe Dispenza wrote that book. It's a really good book. Basically, if you believe something is happening and you feel it and you think it, it is going to happen in your body. And that's what you feel directly. Because it's in the brain as opposed to in your actual body, if that makes sense. But it creates sensations in the body as a result of your brain. I hope that wasn't too confusing. All right. The physical symptoms that make you feel like you're dying are terrible. I have gone for every test. Yep, I know how you feel. I was the same. I had cameras up nose, cameras in places I don't even want to talk about. But yeah, I've done every test from MRI scans to blood tests to allergy tests to CT scans to ECGs to a bunch of medical tests. I paid a lot of money for it because I was convinced something is wrong with me. And what do you know? It's just anxiety, right? That doesn't make it any easier though. What's the best thing to do with that sick hot feeling that starts to come on, and how to stop it from escalating? Good really question. So I will zoom out of that question because I want it to apply to everyone, because it doesn't just have to apply to the specific symptom. So when you have that anticipation anxiety, and then once you feel a symptom, if you start thinking about your symptom and you notice it getting worse, and then you spiral and it makes the physical symptom more intense, how do you actually manage and control that situation where it doesn't escalate to the point where, let's say, you have an anxiety attack or a panic attack, or you're thinking about it for the rest of the day, whether you're at work or you're trying to spend time with your kids or your partner, or you're trying to just relax on the sofa or go out and do normal things like the cinema or the park. Here's how to not have that escalate. So the first thing, a big thing, is whether you know how to detach from the thoughts that create the rumination and anticipation. I'm going to say that again, and I'm going to say that really simply. So if you've ever studied Claire Weeks or you've read any of her books, she was a pioneer, which just means she was very well respected and well renowned in the anxiety field. Rest in peace. So basically, if you read her books, one of the things that you learn is that there's this thing called primary fear and there's this thing called secondary fear. The primary fear is kind of like the trigger itself, the symptom itself. So the primary fear could be a palpitation, your heart skipping a beat, the DPDR, the disconnection, the headaches, the pain, whatever it may be, right? So the secondary fear is all the panic that goes along with it. This is usually you escalating it yourself manually. Like, oh my God, this is so bad. What is this? Am I going to die? Like all of the additional commentary that you have with the primary main thing. It's the secondary fear that keeps you stuck, right? So as it's escalating or getting worse and progressing, that secondary fear is getting more intense, and that is what creates a lot more anticipation anxiety and more intense symptoms. So more intense disconnection, more intense palpitations, or leading up to a panic attack. You need to learn how to stop that process and say no. And here's what I mean by that. So if you kind of think of anxiety as a conversation, right? So you don't have control of whether the conversation happens, as in if anxiety speaks to you. So if anxiety shows you a symptom and makes you feel that, or anxiety has thoughts in your head, or produces intrusive thoughts, you aren't in control of that. Just let your body react that way. However, you are in control of whether you speak back, whether you engage with the thoughts. If you don't know how to stay present, you'll have the next thought, which leads to the next thought, and then you'll get in this tornado spiral of thoughts. So even though there are thoughts, you want to learn to actually observe and let thoughts pass. Kind of like riding a wave. If you're surfing, sometimes the waves are crashing hard, sometimes the waves are crashing very gentle. If you know how to surf and you pick up the surfboard and you ride the wave, you'll stay afloat. Right now you don't know how to ride the wave, which is why you drown and get lost in the spirals. This is why you learn meditation, which teaches you how to stay in your body, respond to physical symptoms. Another big reason why I teach this and made my own 21-day program for it, because most people don't know how to do this. I didn't know how to do it, right? You can learn it just like you learn a skill. I hope that makes sense. Okay. Hey, Lily says, hey Gabe. Hi Lily. That's exactly my throat process. I'm glad you agree or relate. Okay. Okay, I've answered that, I think. How to go back to drinking alcohol casually. So what I would suggest when it comes to drinking alcohol is if you have anxiety, I would just not drink alcohol. Because the thing is, alcohol damages your brain, and there's loads of new science on this. People used to think, oh, a little alcohol is fine, but alcohol actually damages the brain and it shrinks the brain. I forgot the name of the scientist on this, but she was on a Diary of a CEO podcast where she referenced and cited recent studies on alcohol and the effects on the brain. But alcohol literally shrinks your brain. So it's kind of like, let's say you have your lungs, right? If somebody makes your lungs smaller, is it going to be harder to breathe? Yes, because it's smaller, right? So alcohol shrinks your brain, arguably one of your most important, not arguably, one of your most important organs in the entire body. The organ that is also most related to anxiety, that also controls the fight or flight or anxiety response, right? So alcohol shrinks part of your brain's ability to regulate itself. So you are going to be more anxious. So it's kind of like you want to go back to drinking casually, but is that the goal, right? I thought the goal is to get rid of anxiety. And if the goal is to get rid of anxiety, that means you stop drinking for a little bit. Now, of course, you can, once you're healed and regulated, of course you can healthfully, consume alcohol. Now, if you're getting drunk every day and you're an alcoholic, obviously that's going to damage your nervous system, and you shouldn't have the goal to go back to that and do that without anxiety, because anxiety is just a response of that. So if you mean casual in the sense of honestly just do it occasionally, limit it for now. If all your friends do is drink, you probably need new friends, right? No offense, but if you have other friends where they occasionally go for a drink and you just want to be able to enjoy that with them, slow down for now, or have a normal drink, have a glass of water and just put a straw in it if you're worried what other people think. But that would be my suggestion. Stop for now. And in terms of getting to a place where your nervous system is healthy enough where you can drink occasionally, then do all the things I said. Learn how to meditate, learn how to respond to symptoms, have healthy habits that help your nervous system, like exercise, right? Like slowing down throughout the day and pausing, like applying somatic work and somatic tools and doing it consistently. Okay, awesome. Next question. Okay. I used to Google my symptoms a lot. I haven't in a while. And that's good. I've already answered how to get rid of depersonalization. Okay, really good question. So if you want to hear something mind-blowing that no one talks about in terms of anxiety, which this question has just asked, which says, can anxiety be a result of shame? I mean, shame that is learned from childhood. 1,000,000% anxiety is, right? It's a common cause of nervous system dysregulation. And what I'm talking about is psychological shame. So for people that don't know what shame is, beyond the emotion. There's something called psychological shame where you judge yourself in the eyes of others, right? So this is common if you criticize yourself a lot, you're hard on yourself a lot, you have social anxiety, you judge yourself in the eyes of others, you constantly worry what other people are thinking of you, you have a fear of abandonment, a fear of rejection. This could be from childhood trauma where your parents created this feeling, right? Not that they created this feeling, but they acted in a way that made the feeling like it happen, whether that's, if your parent wasn't a good parent, which a lot of people have, if you have childhood trauma, if you felt like you had to act in a certain way to be accepted in your parents, or you were, constantly walking on eggshells because of how your parents may react, or your parents made you feel like you weren't worthy. This could, by the way, you can also get shame from just your relationships, your friends, and all those relationships that aren't serving you. So whenever you feel like that, those emotions get stuck in your body and you don't know how to regulate them, right? And those thought processes create beliefs that aren't serving you, all of which can help dysregulate your nervous system. I love Chris Gurner's work on it. He basically says, and he's a clinical psychologist and psychiatrist who literally focuses on shame. He has a book out as well. Basically, he says that the solution to shame is self-compassion, and he does that through meditations. And guess what I have? My own meditations for compassion and shame. So 100% shame can. All right. Sharon, I had a severe anxiety attack this morning, panic attack this morning. Just so you guys learn how to deal with panic attacks, don't try and stop a panic attack. When you're having a panic attack, let the panic attack run its course. Kind of like if you need to get blood out, the needle needs to go in. It needs to pierce your skin. Yes, it's going to sting. But you messing with the needle or trying to push it out is probably going to cause more injury. So stay still, show your vein, and let the blood transfusion happen, and let the panic attack run its course, right? Once, in terms of actually regulating during a panic attack, you don't actually want to start taking deep breaths. And I'm sure loads of people have told you, hey, just take a deep breath. When you're having a panic attack, you're actually taking in too much air. So what you actually want to do is stop inhaling so rapid and shallow. How can you do that? Box breathing is great, where you inhale for 4 seconds, you hold your breath for 4 seconds, you exhale for 4 seconds, and you hold for another 4, so you make a box, and that really helps. Do it 4 to 8 times. Another thing that really helps is EFT tapping, which stands for Emotional Freedom Technique. I've made a video on this a good few times. You take your 2 fingers and you tap 7 times, 5 times, underneath your eye, the side of your eye, on your top of your lips, on your chin, on your collarbone, underneath your arm. You don't necessarily have to follow an order, but it helps to follow an order and to just do it in sequence that feels comfortable to you. Adrian, been dealing with itchiness from anxiety for a few weeks. Will it go away? So if you've been dealing with anxiety symptoms, whether it's itchiness, whether it's DPDR, whether it's anxious thoughts, if you're like thinking, okay, as long as I just give it a bit of time, it'll go away, you're wrong. Because anxiety doesn't heal when time passes. Anxiety heals when love and safety has shown up enough times in your nervous system for your brain to actually realize, like, oh, it'll be fine, it's over. And then it shuts off the fight or flight response or the freeze response, which are anxiety and stress responses in the body. And then you feel healed, and then your symptoms aren't there. For that to happen, though, it isn't like, oh, it's been a month, it's been a year, it's been 6 months. It has to be proof. So for example, the same way a bank needs proof before it trusts you with its money. It needs to see your credit score, your bank statement, how much funds you actually have, whether you pay, your previous debts and expenses on time. Do you money launder? Do you have suspicious money going in and out of your bank account? The same way a bank does a background check to trust you and then lends you out its cash, your nervous system needs to trust you. And it trusts you through love and safety. How do I get love and safety? Engage in behaviors and habits that promote that. Whether that's meditation, whether that is slowing down throughout the day, because slowing signals safety to your nervous system. What I mean by slow down is physically reduce the speed at which you move and let your body come to a complete stop, and slow down as the rate which you do things, because you probably eat quickly, you walk quickly, talk quickly, you rush through things because of anxiety. You have this sense of urgency. Same with your symptoms. You're like, I need to get rid of it right now. Slow down and pause. Whether it's getting enough sleep, whether it's spending time with healthy people that don't make you more anxious, whether that's not Googling your symptoms, all of the behaviors and habits that have that tailor action or take you towards a healthy nervous system. Continue those actions consistently, and then your nervous system will have that proof, and then it will trust you. And if you do that, then when time passes, it will happen. Healing will happen. Recovery will happen. By the way, guys, I'm pretty much just going to answer all the questions. So I will, I'm reading everything that are being said. If it has a question, then I will answer. Okay, how do I overcome my selective mutism? Is it even possible? So it depends if it's genetic or not. So I don't want to get too much into the science on this, because I wouldn't say I'm an expert on epigenetics. So, in fact, I'm not even going to I'll somewhat answer the question for maybe the people that do feel like this. So if you have like some sort of genetic condition that is completely genetic, that isn't to do with epigenetics, then the chances of you healing it are less likely according to the research. If it's something that was not inherited by your mom or your dad or your grandparents or anyone in your family genetically, and it's something that came as a result of stress or nervous system dysregulation, if it was disease that came across that happened as a result of that, then you can help it. Okay, guys, I will answer one more question and then I will let you guys go. I'll try and answer a good one. Okay. Sorry for the pause here. I'm just trying to answer a question. That's good. Okay, I think this is a pretty good question. So, Safi has asked, should I let the symptoms be there even if they're hard? Accept them without fearing, right? Really good question, Safi. And yes, you should, right? Because here's the thing. Fear is what keeps the symptom alive. It really is. And I will describe healing in 3 stages. And I'll end with this. So here's the 3 stages of healing. Stage 1, you have your symptoms and you fear them. You hate them, you fight them. Every time they happen in your body, you resist them, you fight them, you push them away. The same way if you were going to get attacked on the street, you would probably fight and resist being attacked to protect you. Kind of what your brain is doing. So you have the fear and you also have the symptoms, right? So let's say you have the fear and you have the DPDR and you have the headaches, you have the physical symptoms, you have the thoughts, you have all of the fear. Sleep issues, whatever. Stage 1, that is where most people are at, and you're probably watching this video because you're in that stage. Stage 2 is when you have the symptoms, but you have no fear. So you will still have the symptom, you will still notice the DPDR, you will still notice the palpitations, you might still have intrusive thoughts, but there's no fear. You truly accept it, you truly don't resist it, you don't ruminate about it, you don't obsess about it, you don't think about it all day, every day. And in this stage, it might happen in, waves. You might notice it getting less frequent, less intense. You might, right? I'm not guaranteeing this, but usually they don't feel 24/7, and you don't feel like you need to fight. Like, for example, right now when you have the symptoms, you brace, you flinch. Kind of like if I were to punch you on the screen, you would brace, right? So with this, you don't brace. You actually relax, you let it in, you're open to it, almost like a hug. Like, think about it. When you're giving someone a hug, you open up. So when the symptoms happen, you open up. And this is stage 2. But this is where most people get stuck, because they get impatient, they get frustrated. They're like, I'm accepting and it's not going away. And then they stop being consistent. To get from stage 2 to stage 3, which is where you have no symptoms, no fear, and just normal anxiety when it happens as an emotion. Like, for example, if I was to give a speech between 3,000 people, in front of 3,000 people, it's normal to get nervous, and I might get nervous. Where it's like that, instead of constant physical symptoms or impending doom, etc., and not an anxiety disorder anyway. To get to that stage, stage 2 has to happen over and over and over again through your actions and habits that I talked about earlier in the video, and through obviously mindfulness, training your response, and all of the habits that you specifically need to do. But you have to stay consistent with that. So feeling symptoms, letting them be there until they're not, is a big part of healing. Alright guys, thank you so much. And if you liked me, right, or you find what I said helpful, and you have anxiety, you have DPDR, you have physical symptoms, and you want help with it, you've been trying things, might have even tried medication, you've been researching, you've been watching videos, you might have even tried other coaches that just didn't work for you, you might have tried breathing techniques, and you just want a long-term fix. If you're interested in that, I have a free group where inside there's a free course called the 3-Day Anxiety Reset, which has a video training from me on how to respond to symptoms, 3 quick tools to do for quick short-term relief of anxiety, and also a guided session so you can apply it in a meditation. And you also get a personal invitation to all of my Q&As, all the recordings, and a free one-on-one call with me. A free one-on-one consultation where it's just me and you one-on-one, where you can actually get personalized advice for your specific symptoms and anxiety and create a roadmap and some solutions going forward. If that sounds like a good idea and you seem interested in that for the price of absolute nothing, keep listening. So who is this for? If you're from the US or Canada or the UK and you have a 9-to-5, you are maybe struggling at work, maybe struggling with your friends and your family and going out, or your partner, and you have physical symptoms, DPDR, anxiety in general, and you just want to fix this as soon as possible, this is for you, right? You probably have your own job and you run your business. Then just click the link on the bio. If that's you, awesome. If it's not, keep watching my free content and keep joining these lives because I'll still be making them. And yeah, I hope to see you soon and get you out of the anxiety hole.